All right, how's everyone doing today? Everyone's good? Good. Okay. My name is Joe Matthews, at Joe Matthews on the Techlahoma Slack channels. You know, you can at Joe Matthews me anytime, and I'll come show up mysteriously. And on Twitter, Joe Matthews OKC. And I want to talk today about GitHub Pages. I love GitHub Pages. It's a weird obsession. And I think Kimberly caught on to that and is like, do a talk, do a talk. And so GitHub Pages is an awesome service. It allows you to host HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and a little bit of extra functionality too, for free dollars, people. And that's pretty amazing. And it's pretty rare out on the interwebs to get that without ads or anything like that. Kind of harkens back to the GeoCities days a little bit, but much better in the fact that it just works and it works well. So I could go on and on about GitHub Pages. I thought about doing like just a good 5 minutes of just talking about how much I love it, but instead I have an official GitHub Pages video, and this is at pages.github.com, and we'll go through a tutorial from that site as well here in a little bit, but let me just go ahead and play this video real quick.
If you're a software developer, GitHub helps you build all sorts of great things. Things that help people, things that could land you a job, things that could change the world, and some things that might not. So how do you tell the world about all the great things you're building? Billboards, direct mail. These days, you build a website, and there are lots of options out there, but so many of these options can be excessive or overwhelming, even for someone who develops software all day. GitHub Pages lets you turn GitHub repositories into elegant websites to showcase your portfolio, your projects, their documentation, or anything else you want to share with the world. There are no databases to set up and no servers to configure. In many cases, you don't even have to know HTML. Everything just works. If you're already using GitHub, it's the most direct path to create websites for you and your projects. So, how does it work? Well, GitHub serves all of your project sites from a personal URL tied to your username or organization. GitHub looks for web content for your projects on a special branch. For sites tied to an existing repository, this branch is separate from your code. But you can also create a site for yourself or your organization by creating a repository with your GitHub Pages URL as its name and adding web content to its master branch. You can even drag and drop your files straight into your browser to upload them. Now, if you want to build something a bit more ambitious, like a blog or structured documentation, GitHub Pages gives you a streamlined publishing experience with the help of Jekyll. Jekyll is an open source tool that transforms plain text files into websites. But it also supports things like variables, templates, and drafts, which give you more control over the format and presentation of your site. Now, no matter which path you choose, GitHub Pages lets you treat your website's content with the same level of care as the source code in all of your projects. Because your website's files are part of a GitHub repository, you can maintain them using the same family of tools and workflows you already use on GitHub. You can use the GitHub flow to manage changes to your website. You can even write tests and have GitHub report the status back to you before merging those changes in. When you're ready to publish changes, just merge them in. GitHub automatically builds and deploys your site for you. This frees you up to focus on the content of your site instead of worrying about how you'll get it from your computer to everyone else's browser. Try out GitHub Pages with one of your projects today. Navigate to the Settings tab of your project and use the automatic page generator to create your first site. GitHub will populate your page with some basic content that you can customize with Markdown. If your project already has a README file, you can import its content here too. When you're finished editing, choose one of the pre-built themes and publish your site. If you need to make changes to this page, you can always rerun the automatic page generator or edit the files directly on GitHub. For now, if you browse to your site's URL, you can see it's up and running. With a few clicks, you can have something beautiful online, but this is only a fraction of what you can do. Visit pages.github.com to learn more about all the possibilities. GitHub is the place where you can build great things. GitHub Pages gives you a way to share those great things with everyone.
Thank you, GitHub. It's a great video. All right. So that went through a lot. And GitHub Pages can do a lot. At its essence, it's simply a web server. You know, you have index.html, you have your CSS and JavaScript, and it hosts it, just like Apache or Nginx would. And that's pretty cool stuff. But it also has some integration with Jekyll, as it showed, and that allows you to do a whole lot more. But there's a first step in all of that, and that's to create a GitHub account. So bear with me while we go through this, and you can join GitHub by going to github.com/join. All right, and so for these examples, it's a little hard to see, I know, but it's a show-me-gh-pages, and that's the username I chose for all these examples. And I got the email address and the password, and so we move on to step 2, which is to choose your plan. Let's go with unlimited public repositories for free. We should be open. We should share our software. And step 3, tailor your experience. I just go ahead and skip this step. It's kind of like a social media thing. What are you interested in? It's also kind of a survey type of thing. We move on, and you're presented with this lovely screen. And so, you know, you might be asking, okay, what now? How do we get started with GitHub pages? All right, the command line tutorial. So the same place that had the video earlier, there is a tutorial on pages.github.com, and this is the command line version. All right, and so this is what the page starts off with, what it looks like. It's a very nice site. And by the way, the documentation for GitHub pages and GitHub documentation in general is amazing. That's my opinion, but it's amazing. Just take my word for it. So the first step, you know, head over to GitHub and create a new repository named username.github.io. For our examples, that's pages.github.io. And, you know, so where username, put your username. All right. Next step, go to the folder where you want to store your project and clone the new repository. So I just go ahead and hit git clone, or type in git clone, and then the address of your repository. Remember, it ends with github.io. All right, then go ahead and change directory to the username.github.io. That should be the folder name after you clone it. And then run the echo program command and go ahead and send that into an index.html. And so all that index.html will say is hello world. And then we git add all, git commit, and then the dash m for message, initial commit, and then git push, and the dash u to indicate that you always want to upload to origin master. All right, and then you're all done. So you go to your file browser and go to your username.github.io. In our case, it's show me GitHub pages. So you can see at the top, show me-githubpages.github.io, and there you go, hello world. And that is my presentation for today. Thank you, thank you. Not really. So if you're like this guy, you know, you might say, what just happened? And so you got git clone, cd echo, git add, git commit, git push. So these, you know, there's a lot of Linux tool knowledge here, and not everyone's up to speed on that. So raise of hands, like who has some experience with HTML, CSS, JavaScript? Almost everybody. Awesome. Who has experience with the Linux command line? Tools involved with that? A lot of people. You know, those that don't worry, because for the rest of this tutorial, we are not going to focus on Linux tools, and we're going to focus instead on going through, you know, going the easy button route and adding files to the repository via github.com, the web interface, which is pretty cool. All right. So to get started with that, go ahead and click on New Repository, and then you're presented with, oh, okay. Yeah, we have to verify the email address. Can never skip that. So go ahead and click Verify Email Address, and then you're popped back here. Go ahead and click on New Repository again. And then go ahead and plug in the same thing I did on the tutorial before. You type in this case, showme-gh-pages.github.io. And then we need to click Initialize this repository with a README. This is important, because if you don't do this, it won't give you some of the options going forward. And so this kind of populates readme.md file that basically just says the name of the repository, and that's it. But that helps us get on to the next steps. And so the next step, so after you click Create Repository, you're presented with this beautiful page. And the button that we want to focus on right now, and as you can see here, laser point is working. So there's our README, and here it shows you the README right here. And that's all that's in our repository. So we're going to create a new file. So you click that Create New File button, and then that presents you with some options. And so you got to name the file. We're going to name it index.html, kind of like in the example of the command line. And instead of just putting in hello world, we're going to put a little bit more boilerplate in here, make Google happy a little bit. And so we do the doc type HTML, we do the HTML element, the body element, H1, and then hello world, and then we have a paragraph that says I'm hosted with GitHub Pages. All right, and then we go to the bottom, and you can see, like, if you don't type anything at all, it's going to give you a message that you can use. Create index.html is very reasonable. So if you look at your Git history, if you're familiar with Git, you get just a bonus there. And so go ahead and commit the new file by clicking that green button at the bottom, and then you're presented with hello world again. But this time you did it without having to know any Linux knowledge. And for everyone in the room at this point, I think you feel like Finn over here, and your mind is just blown. You're like, what can't I make right now? What can't I put on the internet right now? And be responsible, of course. Be responsible. And so let's talk about some more practical examples. So let's talk about Nyancat. Nyancat? All right. I had never pronounced it right. All right. And so we're going to convert CodePen, convert a CodePen to GitHub Pages. And so everyone on, if you go to freeCodeCamp, some of the projects on there, they have you use CodePen, kind of demonstrate your work. And CodePen is an excellent tool, and show you a little bit what it looks like. I found this one, Nyancat Follow Mouse, a CodePen by Bruno Cunha. And this is a pretty cool CodePen. And so the bottom would normally show you the result of these, of this code, but I'm kind of hiding it, no spoilers, that sort of thing. So we have the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript indicated by the 3 arrows. And so what we're going to basically do is copy this into GitHub Pages. And so let's go through that. So we're going to create a new repository this time. It's going to be called Nyan. And then we also have to initialize the repository with the README. That way we can add files right away. And so the first file, let's do main.js. Let's just go ahead and type that in at the top. Copy and paste the JavaScript from the CodePen. Next one is main.css. This is for the CSS now. And we're just going to go ahead and copy and paste that in. All right, this one's important. We got to do the index.html. So I did some more boilerplate here. And so CodePen is nice, and it does a lot of this for you already. When we switch it to GitHub Pages, we're going to have to take some steps to go ahead and make sure that it can find all the files. And so very simply, saying the language is English, Google is like, okay, you're English now. And then we have UTF-8. And UTF-8 is a standard encoding. We go ahead and put that in there. Title. Always have to include a title, or else it's just weird. All right. And then the first big one here is we're linking the style sheet, indicated by that second arrow there. And we also have to link the main.js. And those are the files that we just created. All right. And the result is, okay. So we get a 404 file not found error. And that means we have to do a little bit more setup. So if you click over to settings, and then you scroll down. So sorry, go back a little bit. So this is the settings on the repository. So you click on that settings. And you go down to GitHub Pages, and it says, where's the source at? By default, it's none. And so GitHub Pages is disabled by default on anything except for pages that start with basically your username.github.io. So if it's anything else, like in this case, Nyan, you go ahead and have to go through the settings and choose master branch. All right. And then after we save that, 1 minute, 37 seconds later, we have it shows after you refresh, hit F5, it'll show you the option where your site is published. That's awesome. So if we click onto that, just to show you the URL there is my GitHub username, which is showme-gh.pages, showme-githubpages.github.io. And then when we click on that, we have the nyan cat follows mouse. That's a little bit of credit I put at the top of the HTML. But nyan cat's not moving. Something's wrong here. Even Simon Cowell here is just absolutely bored about this. You know, it wasn't exciting at all. And so I think something is amiss. So we go back to the code pen, we go to settings, and there it is, jQuery.min.js. Everything has jQuery in it. So if we go ahead and copy this, we'll paste it up here in the address bar. We get a bunch of compiled, minified, very hard to read JavaScript. So we do a Control-A, copy everything, Control-C, and then create a jQuery.min.js file. Go ahead and paste that in there. It looks a little different because there's no word wrap on GitHub Pages. All right. So we go back, and so you save this. And then we need to go back and edit the index file. So we go back, we click on index.html, and then right here, we have a little pencil-looking icon that you click on. And that'll allow us to go back and edit. So here we had the main.js that we did before. And we want to go ahead and put this at the top of that. So this is the jQuery.min.js. Paste that in there. A few moments later, we have an adorable demonstration. So let me click on this. Hopefully this will work. And now nyan cat follows the mouse just like planned. And that is amazing. Even Simon Cowell would be very happy about that. So I have to close out of this really quick before it consumes all my memory. All right. Whoop. Go back. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to go over a React demonstration. And so we got some happy tomatoes up here. I think if you're in the know, you know this is going to be a Pomodoro timer example. And so this demonstration is to show you, you may be learning React, and you want to get that React app on the web, and you don't want to have to pay for that. So this is kind of a demonstration on how to get that done. I did not write this timer because, I work and stuff. I kid. But someone put a lot of time into this. This is forked from Alfonso Pacifer. I'm going to guess that's how the name is pronounced. And his original repository is React Pomodoro. And let's see if I can bump this up a little bit more. All right. And so I forked that. Forking in GitHub just basically means stealing someone else's code, and it's allowed. Everyone loves it. All right. And so here we have the code here. What you notice, though, is there's not an index.html anywhere. So how is this even working? How are we going to be able to display this? And that's it mentioned it in the video, and that's the GitHub gh-pages, GitHub Pages branch. And so we can click on the branches here, click here, and we notice that there's a GitHub Pages. Click on that. And that's very different. This is the same repository, different branch, and it's a different world. And so this has the index.html. It has all the CSS right here, the images, JavaScript, even some music, which is awesome. And so this basically allows GitHub Pages to actually render the website for you. And so if we go ahead and do the demonstration of it, so to quickly talk about how that works. So you're working on your React app on the command line. This is the nerdier side of things. And, you serve it up, you view it, you love it. So what you do in that repository is you go ahead and build it. And you can build it anywhere, but you might have to move the files. But if you can choose a place to build it in the root directory of the repository. And then you're going to have a bunch of files that'll show up on your Git log or your Git status. So go ahead and create a new branch called GitHub Pages, gh-pages. Switch to that. And then that repository should be empty. Don't create it from master. Just create a new branch. And then go ahead and add those files to the root directory of the repository. Commit those files, push those files. And hopefully write a script to do all that for you so you only have to do it once. And that's how you kind of create a GitHub Pages branch in one way to do it. And so if we show you that, so here is, this is live from my GitHub Pages website here. Let me see. It's hard to see, but that says show me githubpages.github.io, which is my username for this demonstration /React Pomodoro. And so this is cool. If you don't know about Pomodoro, it's a great way to stay concentrated throughout the workday. And so you have 25-minute intervals. Once that runs out, you go and take a break. That's the social. Click that. You have 5 minutes. Once that goes back to a Pomodoro, and you do that 4 times, you get 4 Pomodoros under your belt. I think it's 4. And then you go ahead and do a coffee break, which is 15. You do that throughout the day, and you have free time, but you also have 25 minutes of concentration. And you can click down here. It's a link that they included, and it goes to the Wikipedia article for Pomodoro technique. So great thing to check out. I love Pomodoro timers because it's a great project to start off with, and this one was done very well. It also has, if I go back, let's see here. It also has, the option. It's very, where am I going? React Pomodoro. So go back to the README here, and so you can also create an icon on your phone. And that's the beauty of React and modern JavaScript frameworks. Once you start learning that, it's good stuff. And Pomodoro timer or any kind of timer like that is a great way to start. And they also help you get organized. All right. Oh, no. Oh, no. There it is. Okay. So we need to talk about Jekyll. Just a little bit. Jekyll's kind of out of the scope of an introduction to GitHub pages. Jekyll is amazing. And so if you go to jekylrb.com, there's tons of documentation. It's great documentation. It's a little technical. It requires Ruby on your computer. And so you just follow the install instructions for Jekyll, and you can get up and running with that. And what Jekyll is a static site generator. And that allows you to do very complex things and compile it to 3 files. You have your index.html, you have your JavaScript file, and you have your CSS file. And that allows you to do pretty amazing things. And so you can create blogs with that. You can create very dynamic-looking websites, but essentially it's a static site. And that has the advantage of being extremely fast. And so as opposed to a server-side rendered page, a static site will load up quickly no matter where it's hosted at. It's very, very cool stuff. Jekyll is built into GitHub. I think the co-founder of GitHub created Jekyll as well. And so there's a little preference on that side. There's other static site generators. But I wanted to show you this page. The second link down here is a really long link. It's help.github.com articles using Jekyll as a static site generator with GitHub pages. They could have made that a little shorter, I think. But if you click on that, you get a GitHub page with amazing documentation that goes over all of this. And see if I can bump this up again. Okay. And so here's the overview about GitHub pages and Jekyll, about Jekyll themes on GitHub. And so the themes are amazing, I'm going to tell you. So they're relatively responsive. It means you can use them on a mobile device. And they're great for blogs. They're great for sites. They're great for demonstrating your code, or your project, or your garden if you're, blogging about your garden, anything like that. And so it goes over adding themes. Yeah, customizing CSS and HTML. And so setting up your GitHub Pages site locally with Jekyll, it goes over all of it. And it's all tuned for use with GitHub Pages. So close out of that. All right. And so you can't talk about Jekyll without talking about, so here's the Jekyll site, by the way. So it shows you simple, static, blog aware. And it gives you a little command line example of how to get started with it. It can be that easy if you're on a Mac, or if you're on Ubuntu or another Linux distribution, or you're really tech savvy in Windows. I got Jekyll working on Windows, and it seems to work fine. I use Windows subsystem for Linux. I haven't tried any other methods. But Jekyll is great. I've used it a lot, and I use it almost primarily because GitHub is just so well integrated with it. And so what that basically means is that you don't need to do anything on the command line. You can use Jekyll without ever installing it if you know what to do. It's kind of a catch-22. So if you put the right files in the right places on GitHub, then it will go ahead and compile the site for you using Jekyll and keep it up to date. It's an amazing system. And so you can even add new blog articles. I'd like to do maybe another in-depth talk just about that, but it's very in-depth. But it's kind of difficult. You kind of have to learn Jekyll before you can use it on GitHub Pages without having it even installed. So that brings up Hugo. So Hugo is my favorite static site generator. This thing is fast. I mean fast. And so they give examples, a lot of propaganda. We can call everything propaganda. So it just describes on their site how you can have thousands of blog articles. I think I have one blog article I've ever written. But I like the fact that if you have thousands of blog articles, it can go ahead and compile that all to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript within seconds, usually less than a second. And so this is written on Go, the Go language, Go programming language. And Go is it's much like C, and it is fast. And so it's compiled as well. And so Go and Hugo can be used almost on any platform, and you really don't even have to go through a lot of the difficulty of going through some installation procedures with other things like Jekyll. You just install it. It's just the exe on Windows, or it's a binary in Linux and on Mac. And a lot of package managers already have Hugo ready to go. And it's very similar to Jekyll. It has a lot of niceties. They're very complementary to one another. Hugo was inspired by Jekyll. So Jekyll is the original gangster, and it is arguably still the best in that regard. But Hugo adds a lot of features that make it appealing. And they even have a site. So gohugo.io right here is the site to go to learn more about Hugo in general. And then you have a link here, gohugo.io, hosting and deployment hosting on GitHub. So there's a site dedicated to just using GoHugo with GitHub pages. And so that's really cool. And that is also a use case. And this is one of those cases where you might have your markdown files, what you might call your source files in the repository, and then you would compile it to the GitHub pages branch, just like I talked before about React. And that's one way to do it, to keep the code clean. That way when people look at your repository, they're not just confused as far as what's going on. All right. And so here's the GoHugo website, self-proclaimed the world's fastest framework for building websites. And I'm not going to argue that. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay. So I wanted to push the limits of, seeing what, GitHub pages can do. And so I found this. It's playing Wolfenstein 3D in the browser. To do a little story. Back in middle school, I was in a typing class, and I didn't want to be there. I can type really fast now, and that's thanks to getting done with the lessons. I got to play Wolfenstein 3D, and you got to understand. I was young. Probably 13, if that, maybe 12. And that's one heck of a reward. Get done with your typing lessons, get more time on Wolfenstein 3D. So we're playing these on old Macintoshes. Color monitors were just a brand new thing, and this game was the game back in that day. And so click on this, and I do believe this was originally created by either Bethesda or id. For an anniversary for Wolfenstein 3D. I don't know too much about it. The README file is a little cryptic. I forked this again, and so this time it's from Jacob Seidelin, and so this code works, and it's a lot to push through a web server. Well, essentially your browser is doing all the work. The web server just has to give you the files. So it's not that big a deal in that regard, but it's pretty amazing what you can do in a browser, and I really just wanted to see if it would work. So just go through, see if this will work live. Oh my God, it worked. I was having issues in Firefox. So Chrome is the way to go with Wolfenstein 3D in the browser. Sorry, Firefox. So you go new game. I don't know how loud this is going to be. And we got to go, I'm Death Incarnate. We're going with the max difficulty. Go level 1. Just to show you, works just fine. Oh, there's baddies. I gotta go. I'm a pacifist. I just gotta get to the secret. Spoiler alert, there's a secret over here. I gotta kill. I'm sorry. Oh, they got me. I know, I'm pretty awful. I don't want to spend too much time playing that. All right, so that's Wolfenstein 3D in the browser. You can see up here, well, maybe you can't see, but it's showme.githubpages.github.io/wolf3d. And basically, I forked that repository, and it just worked. And so this is another page that uses GitHub Pages branch, and I think just a little bit of cleanup is done. I don't know if anything's changed actually. Yeah, see, it's so wolf 3D to index.html. That's about all the changes that were made, and that's that. And so I think that went a little bit under time. We're still doing good on time. Does anyone have any questions? Anybody? Oh, we got a question here. Limitations. So I think you maybe saw a little bit of it when I was doing the Nyan Cat example, where basically if you try to reach out to a CDN, a content delivery network, it won't want to pull those in. Basically, the web server only wants to link to websites within that repository or assets within that repository. And so as you saw what I did, I kind of pasted that into the browser, copy and paste that into its own file in the repository, and that got it up working again. You could put that in, if you're using Node, you can probably put that as a part of the build procedure to go and grab those, get the freshest and latest if you want to do that. And a part of, NPM in general is that, whenever you build it, it's going to do that anyways, I think. Now you have to update. But I think that's the biggest limitation. I haven't seen any limitation as far as JavaScript goes. I haven't dug deep into it. I don't think, because GitHub Pages is just giving the user the files. It's like, here's a JavaScript file, an index file, and a CSS file. And as long as those aren't referencing external sites, you get that in, and then JavaScript can just run on the user's computer as is. And so, as far as grabbing assets through JavaScript, I think that might be possible. Linking to another server, that might be possible. But if you're linking to another server, why are you using GitHub Pages in the first place? Or it could be an API, so you could do a Twitter API through JavaScript, possibly. There's no way GitHub could prevent that, in essence. There are some limitations as far as Jekyll themes go. Basically, so if you wanted to go the route of using the web interface, no command line at all, and you wanted to do Jekyll and a blog through GitHub Pages, you'd basically be limited to a certain amount of themes, I do believe. There's ways to overwrite the themes, make them better, improve on them, but if you just want to use it as is, there are only a certain amount of themes that GitHub themselves support, and in addition to that, if you were to do custom theme, there's only a certain amount of plugins that GitHub will do automatically for you without you having to go to the command line to do it automatically. And so I think that's done to protect themselves because that code's being run on their site. And so that they're really kind of protective about what Jekyll is doing on their servers. And so you have the Jekyll official plugins only. And besides that, I don't think there are any other limitations that I know of. Do you think of anything in specifically? Okay. That answer your question? Anything else? You guys down here? No? Yeah. I don't think you can use PHP because the question was, can you use PHP? And I don't believe so. The PHP would have to be run on GitHub servers, and I don't think GitHub would like to take that liability because that PHP just go do anything it wants. In essence, basically the Jekyll Ruby is kind of acting as the PHP, but only when there's a change. So only when you update your repository does the Jekyll kick in and start looking for those changes and adding files. So no PHP. No. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I got some nods from some JavaScript aficionados. It'll be in the JavaScript code, right, guys? So you can. There may be ways to salt that. That's beyond. No, we're getting nods. No, we're getting nods. No. Yeah. I think it's a very complicated subject. I think tokens and keys are best left to the server side, and at that point, it might be worth looking into getting a virtual private server to host your stuff on, which is a whole nother talk. So I'd say the quick answer, with just based on like how many these I got, I would say no. I would not put the tokens in the JavaScript. You could, wouldn't want to do it though. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, so just to repeat that. A gig is kind of the limit to the repository. So I was thinking about hosting all my ROMs on there. I'm not going to do that now. Not going to do it. And what did you say the bandwidth limit was? 100 gigs a month. That's a lot. That's a lot. And so if you keep your site simple, if you're even video, I think you'd be fine, unless you just blow up and your News Channel 9 links to your GitHub pages. I think you'll be fine. But in general, especially if you're just doing a blog, images and text are pretty cheap. So yeah. All right. Did that satiate all your early yearnings about GitHub pages? I think so. I think so. All right. We good? We're offline? Cool.